Hi there everybody, my name is Ryan Moffat from Uplift Performing Arts and I'm here today to tell you the story of this little cheeky chappy right here, and his name is Mr. Peter Rabbit. So excited to read this one to you. I read this to my girls all the time. So right now, if you want to find yourself a nice little comfortable area to sit in, so whether you want to sit on a pillow and facing your TV or whether you're on a tablet in your bed, get nice and comfortable and we're going to read this story together. Okay, so here we go. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said old Miss Rabbit one morning, "you may go out into the fields and down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now run along and don't get into any mischief. I'm going out." Then old Miss Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the woods to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Currant buns. Flopsy and Mopsy and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter, who was a very naughty little bunny, he ran straight to Mr. McGregor's garden. And he squeezed under the gate. First, he ate lettuces and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. And then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. But around the end of a cucumber frame, whom shall he meet but Mr. McGregor? Mr. McGregor was on his knees and his hands planting out some young cabbages. But he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving his rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden and he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages, and the other shoe amongst all the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on all 4 legs and went faster, so that I think he might have got away altogether if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Looks pretty good, right? Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears. But his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter, but Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind. And he rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can, that is, a watering can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not been such full of water. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hiding underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking underneath each one. Presently, Peter sneezed. Achoo! Mr. McGregor was after him in no time and tried to put a foot upon Peter. But just then Peter jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 different plants, and the window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter, so he went back to his work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath, trembling and frightened, and he had not the least idea where to go. Also, he was very damp from sitting in the watering can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room to fit his fat little rabbit body underneath and squeeze. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone door, carrying peas and beans for her family in the woods. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She just shook her head, and Peter began to cry. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently, he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor's was filling his watering cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then she twitched her tail as if she was alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin Benjamin Bunny. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard a noise of a hoe going scratch, scratch, scratch. Peter stayed underneath a bush. But presently, as nothing was happening, he came out and climbed up top of a wheelbarrow and peered over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing some onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Peter got down very quickly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along the straight walk behind some black currant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him in the corner of his eye, but Peter did not care. He slipped as fast as he could underneath the gate, and he was safe at last. The woods were outside of the garden now. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes that he had found in his garden for a scarecrow, so that it would frighten some of the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running or looking behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon a very nice soft piece of sand on the floor of the rabbit hole, and he shut his eyes. His mother was very busy cooking. She wondered what he had been up to and what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoon to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy and Mopsy and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. The end. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that story of Peter Rabbit. If you like it some more, you can always rewind and listen to it again. But hopefully you're all keeping well during this time. I've been Ryan from Uplift, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Bye!